Tonight, a woman is handing her credit card to a man who does not love her, and she knows it. She knows his name. She knows the exact price of the champagne he likes because she paid for it last week. One bottle cost more than her rent. She is in Tokyo. The district is called Kabukicho, and the building she walks into every Friday night is called a host club, a place where women pay men to act like men who love them. Before you laugh at her, understand one thing. She is not stupid. She knows the love is fake. She pays anyway, and tonight I am going to show you why. Because some of these women lose everything, some end up paying with their bodies. And one of them committed $1 million of fraud just to keep one man smiling at her. She is in prison right now. 9 years. Her crime was not falling in love. Her crime was trying to afford it. Japan finally passed a law to stop all of this. A law that tried to make selling love illegal. The machine survived. Let me show you the factory. Go back to the woman from the start. The one with the credit card. I want you to follow her inside because the building explains everything. A tall, thin tower in Kabukicho. Mirrors on every wall. A chandelier that costs more than a car. And 20 young men in sharp suits with perfect hair and softer voices than any man she has ever dated waiting by the door. Her first visit costs almost nothing. A few dollars for unlimited drinks and unlimited attention. That was not generosity. That was the free sample. She met every host at the table that night, one by one, like a casting session. And at closing time, she chose one. From that moment, it was hers. He pours her drinks. He laughs at her jokes. He remembers her birthday, her job, the fight she had with her mother. He texts her good morning. He texts her good night. For a price, she has a boyfriend with no flaws and no demands. Except one demand, the bill. The same champagne she could buy at a convenience store for $15 costs $300 at his table. And on special nights, there is something called a champagne tower, a pyramid of glasses taller than the man himself. The staff pours champagne down it like a waterfall. The lights spin, and the whole club chants his name. One tower can cost more than $10,000 for one night, for one chant. Why would she pay that? Because every club has a ranking. The host who sells the most becomes number one. His face goes up on a glowing billboard outside, towering over the streets of Kabukicho like a god of the district. So she is not buying drinks. She is buying his career. Every bottle is a vote. Every tower is a campaign donation. If she stops spending, he falls. And if he falls, maybe the good morning texts stop. There are around 300 of these clubs packed into Kabukicho alone. Roughly a third of every host club in Japan squeezed into a few neon blocks. An entire economy built on one product. And the product is not alcohol. The product is the feeling of being chosen. But even that is not the most dangerous thing in the building. The most dangerous thing in a host club is a piece of paper. And she is about to sign it. That piece of paper is called urikake, the tab, the deferred bill. Watch how it happens. It is the last week of the month when the rankings are decided. Her host leans in close and tells her he is in trouble. He might lose his position. He looks at her the way no real man has looked at her in years. And he says, "I need you tonight." She does not have the money. He smiles. "Do not worry. Pay next month." So the club opens a tab in her name, and tonight the champagne flows. Tonight she is not a customer. She is the woman who saved him. The whole club chants his name, and it is because of her. Then the month ends, and the number arrives. A number she cannot pay. This is the moment the love story changes genre. Because the club does not forget the tab. The host does not forget the tab. His own pay is tied to collecting it. And in Kabukicho, there has always been a very specific suggestion for women who cannot pay. The sex industry. It pays fast. He knows a place, just until the debt is gone. He says it gently, like a boyfriend solving a problem instead of a creditor collecting one. One woman in Tokyo was driven into a debt of about 10 million yen, roughly $60,000. Her host then arranged for her to pay it back through prostitution. The police shut that club down. It was the first time the authorities ever closed a host club over the tap system itself. The first time. Not because it had only happened once, because it had finally become too loud to ignore. Support groups say women have been pushed into brothels, into adult film, onto the street. One woman described being sent overseas to Macau to work off what she owed. Sit with that sentence for a moment. She walked into a club to feel loved, and the club exploited her. Now, I can feel the comfortable thought forming in your head. The thought goes like this. These women must be naive, young, desperate, not very bright. It is a comfortable thought because it keeps you safely on the other side of the glass. So let me ruin it for you. Let me tell you about the smartest fool in Tokyo. Her name is Mai Watanabe. Online, she called herself Riri-chan. She was in her early 20s, and she was not naive about manufactured love. She was a professional. Riri-chan made her living from lonely middle-aged men. She would meet them and tell them tragic stories. A sick relative, a failing business, a debt that would force her into terrible places unless someone kind stepped in. The men felt needed. The men sent money. She was so good at this that she wrote a manual, a literal step-by-step guide on how to extract money from lonely men. She sold it online to other young women, and it made her famous. The courts found that she took around 155 million yen from 3 men, roughly $1 million. So understand what we have here. A woman who knew exactly how fake intimacy works. She built fake intimacy for a living. She wrote the textbook. And what did she do with her $1 million? She carried it to Kabukicho, and she poured almost all of it into one host. The court said her goal was simple. She wanted to make him number one. She drained lonely men on one side of the city to fund the illusion of one man's love on the other side. The same machine. She was the seller at one door and the customer at the other. Both doors led to the same room. And here's the detail that should stop you cold. When she was arrested, she was living in a capsule hotel, a bed the size of a coffin, stacked in a wall of identical coffins. $1 million had passed through her hands. She kept none of it. The men she funded had shown off her cash in videos. In court, she gave one explanation for everything. She said she wanted to be needed by someone. The judge was not moved. He called her motive selfish and gave her 9 years. The host who took her money faced his own charges for accepting cash she knew came from fraud. Now, it would be easy to call her a monster. The men she robbed would agree with you. It would be easy to call her a fool. The judge more or less did. But I want you to look at the shape of her story. A person who knew the love was fake, who could explain the trick better than anyone alive, and who still paid everything she had to feel it one more time. Knowing how the machine works does not protect you from the machine. I can say that with complete confidence, because I used to work inside one. I was an idol. A K-pop idol debuted overseas, built by a company. And I am going to tell you something the industry leaves out of the documentaries. An idol is a host with better lighting. The host club calls it service. We called it fan service. It was the same job. I was trained to smile, not taught, trained. There is a difference. You practice the angle. You practice how long to hold it. You practice the moment your eyes find one fan in the crowd, and stay on her just long enough that she goes home certain something passed between you. Nothing passed between us, but she will buy the next album to find out. The company decided what I ate because my body was packaging. I lived in group housing overseas with the other members because we were inventory, And every night on stage, I said the same sentences hosts say across the tables of Kabukicho. I missed you. You give me strength. I do this for you. Was I lying? Here is the uncomfortable answer. Not exactly. Under the lights, in the moment, some of it felt true. That is what makes the product so effective. The host is not laughing at the woman behind her back. Most hosts are drowning in their own numbers. The ranking board that thrills the customers is a leash for the staff. Miss your sales and you fall. Fall far enough and you are gone. So he pushes the champagne, not because he is a villain, but because the machine is hungry, and he is the one standing closest to its mouth. The woman pays with her savings. The host pays with his face, his liver, his 20s. Nobody at the table is winning. The table is winning. I learned this on stage. The fans believed they were buying my love. The company knew they were buying my smile. And I knew the smile had stopped belonging to me somewhere around the second year. So when I look at Kabukicho, I do not see strange Japanese women and evil Japanese men. I see a clean, honest, brutally efficient version of an economy I once worked in. An economy you may know better than you think. Stay with me. This next part is about you. Relax. This is not the part where I call you a host club customer. You have never flown to Tokyo. You have never bought a champagne tower. But let me describe a different woman. She buys concert tickets she cannot quite afford. She pays a monthly subscription, so a man she has never met sends messages that feel private, even though thousands of other women receive the same warmth at the same second. She buys the album 3 times because each version hides a different photo of his face. She votes, she streams, she defends him online at midnight like he is family. And when he looks into the camera and says, "You are the reason I keep going," something in her chest unclenches for the first time all day. Is she pathetic? No. She is a customer of the same economy, a milder dose, a safer dose, but the active ingredient is identical. Manufactured affection aimed at a real wound. And here is what I need you to understand about that wound. The hunger to be chosen, to be seen, to be needed, is not a malfunction. It is one of the oldest hungers a human being can carry. The women of Kabukicho are not a different species. They are ordinary hungry people who found a store that was open. Because what changed was never women. What changed is the world around them. Real intimacy got expensive. Not in money, in risk. A real man can reject you. A real man can leave, grow cold, look at his phone while you are still talking. The host never does that. Neither does the man on her screen. The fantasy is not competing with real love. The fantasy is competing with real disappointment. And against real disappointment, the fantasy wins every single time. Now, before I close this chapter, I owe you a disclosure of my own. I sing live on this channel. People send money while I sing. Some of you watching this have sent it. So understand, I am not preaching from outside this economy. I am standing inside it. And I am telling you where the line is because I stand on that line every week. Here is the line. You can pay a singer for a song. You know what you paid for, and so does he. The payment was never the crime. The crime is when the bill says champagne and the product was supposed to be love. The crime is a tab that grows in the dark and a man trained to grow it. So no, you are not on trial here. The customer was never the criminal. The criminal is an industry that looked at human loneliness, measured it, priced it, and built a payment plan for it. And if you think that industry could not survive being dragged into the light, Japan just ran that experiment for us. They wrote it into law. Watch what happened. By last year, the stories had become impossible to ignore. The debts, the brothels. Politicians were discussing host clubs in the national parliament. So Japan did something almost poetic. A revised law came into effect, aimed straight at the heart of the industry. It banned what officials called romance sales tactics. Exploiting a customer's romantic feelings to make her spend is now illegal in Japan, threatening to end the relationship unless she keeps ordering illegal. Pushing a woman into the sex industry to pay her tab, a criminal offense. Even taking a referral fee from a brothel for delivering her, banned. And then came my favorite part, the billboards. For years, the towers of Kabukicho glowed with the faces of #1 hosts and slogans boasting annual sales over 100 million yen. Under the new law, the boasting itself became illegal. So one morning, workers climbed the buildings and quietly taped black strips over the words. Think about that image. A government sending men with tape to censor love. Phrases like drown in love were banned from advertising. Hosts who had built their entire identity around the climb told reporters they no longer knew what to strive for. For one moment, the machine flinched, and then the machine did what machines do. It moved. Host clubs began expanding out of Tokyo into Osaka. And in Osaka, the tab is alive and well. At some clubs there, about 40% of all payments are still deferred. The law closed the door in Kabukicho. The industry opened a new one 400 kilometers away. Which brings us back to the question we started with. What happens when a woman stops waiting for love and starts buying it? Here is the cold answer. Nothing happens to love. Love was never in the building. What happens to her. She converts her loneliness into debt. She converts the debt into desperation. And somewhere inside that conversion, the thing she was hungry for drifts further away than when she started. Because the industry was never selling love. It was selling the renewal of hunger. A meal designed to make you hungrier, served by a man whose salary depends on your appetite. You can ban the champagne. You can tape over the billboards. You can put the saddest customer in the country in prison for 9 years. But the hunger walks out of that courtroom untouched and goes looking for the next door that is open. It is 2 in the morning in Gwangju. The kids are asleep. My wife has never paid for my smile. Some nights she does not even like it. That is how I know it is real. Real love does not keep a tab. It just keeps showing up. Stay real, because that is what I crave.